Hello everybody, welcome to this video. It's time for the second post-event survey that was very generously compiled by Nick Bez, who is very involved in the windsurfer LT scene and is also very keen to see Wave Rally prosper. So thank you so much to Nick for compiling this. It's a big effort, you know. It's doing the survey is one thing, but then you have to collate all the information and present it into a file like this, which it takes a lot of time. So massive thanks to Nick Bez. All right, let's get started. So the second Wave Rally happened from the 9th to the 11th of January, and the survey was completed in February 2026. So here's some information about who collated it, including Nick Bez. He's very, he's got a lot of honours to his name here, so he's a very intelligent guy. So thanks so much, Nick, once again. Some quotes from competitors that were given. I've been to hundreds of windsurfing events all over the world. Wave Rally is the most fun I've had in years. An incredible few days of competition wrapped in a fantastic cloak of entertainment and goodwill. Wave Rally is without doubt the best overall event experience I've had. That's awesome. Well, I'm happy there are happy people there. This is the event site, Coronation Beach in Geraldton. It's a perfect setting for an event like this. So it's very honoured to be able to do the event. This is the Geraldton Windsurfing Club area. That's the main hub of the event where the admin happens. We've got these shade structures which are very popular, and this is the start line along here, so it works well. All right, this is the contents. Second Wave Rally Championships, Wave Rally World Championships took place at Geraldton. We had 73 registrations in the end. 69 happened before the event and 4 on the day. Just over half were from WA and the rest were from other states in Australia, and 24% international. 93% male, 7% female, and an age range of 14 years to 72. It's an amazing age range. Last year we had quite a lot more youth, but there was a youth event happening at the same time in Geraldton, which was just a one-off. So this meant that the numbers were down on the youth part of it, but I envision from here on in, these numbers will increase again, since we won't be doing this overlap. And also, because of that overlap, it kept these registrations down a bit because of the fact that quite a few of the parents and kids are obviously involved in that as well. For future, there's going to be a cap on the event. It'll be either 80 or 88 people, depending. 80 is 10, or is 8 heats of 10, and 88 is 8 heats of 11 people. I kind of have a feeling it might sell out next year with the amount of interest I'm getting, but so if you're interested for next year, make sure you register early. All right, so this is cool. So this is the feedback from the competitors. So last year, so the way it works is people give a scale from 1 to 9 and how they rated their experience at the event. 9 being excellent, 1 being extremely disappointed. 76%. So this is 2 lines. This is the 2026 event, Wave Rally 2, and this one down here is Wave Rally 1. So you would hope, if you do the right thing, that you'll see an improvement. So last year, the first event, we had 67% of people rated as excellent. This time was 76%. Conversely, 24 and 18, 9 and 6. So more people went from 7s and 8s to 9s, which meant that the weighted average became 8.71 out of 9 versus 8.57. So there was an improvement there. So that is fantastic. That means that we're moving in the right direction. Over 80% of 73 competitors were from outside the area. Yep, as I already mentioned. The estimated economic impact, now this is the big one, because I need to prove this to the local authorities and sponsors that it is having an effect. But it was estimated, as will be shown later on, that the impact was $126,000, which is amazing. Fantastic for the local area here in Geraldton in the Midwest. What was liked about the event? The overall planning and delivery, particularly the quality of communication, distinctive course, I won't. I'll try to skip over a little bit because otherwise, last time I did it, the video took like 2 hours. But the course, people like the course, the strong camaraderie, social interaction. What could be improved? Continuing review and refinement of equipment parameters. This year we had. We made the rules a bit tighter because the first event was there was a few people that were within the rules but started to I guess go away from what I initially intended for things to happen, so I had to tighten up the rules. But people obviously like the fact that the rules are continually evolving and to try to keep it managed so people feel like it's relatively fair. Broadening of race communication channels beyond WhatsApp. Yeah, I'm guilty of this. I use WhatsApp so much. I use that as the main communication, but I guess I should also add email. That would be good. Evolve elements of the social program, catering, awards, presentation. Yeah, that's fair. I feel like there could be more work done on the social side of things. Obviously, I'm so busy running the event during the day. I almost need someone to manage a social program separately. And of course, with a constrained budget, there's only so much I can do. Hopefully, with more support, I can then improve this part of the event. Requests for future events to reinforce the fun, inclusive, positive spirit. Refinement of the event format, including draws. Event winner to maximize participation. Build out social elements to ensure inclusivity. Future event intention, strong support, high levels of intended participation. Over 90% of respondents said they would attend again. That is very important. In the end, when you run an event, it's almost like running a business in the sense that you have a customer being the entrant and you want them to return. And over 90% of people that get involved with Rave Rally would like to return at some point. If this was a low number, I'd be worried. But that is excellent. So thanks to everybody for supporting the event. So late 2024, Wave Rally engaged market research firm Mobium Group. So Mobium is obviously a professional business that handles these surveys. That was done by Nick Bez. So I'll just skip over this a little bit. Major topic areas, aspects were liked. So the main part of this survey, I guess, is these are the 3 things that you'd hope to get information on as an event organizer. What aspects were liked? What areas could be improved? What should be included at future events? Because, it's easy to put your head in the sand and think, I did a great job, I don't want to listen to anybody. But of course, that's not constructive and it's not real. There's always room for improvement with everything. And I actually love trying to improve this event. As soon as this event can't be improved anymore, I'd probably almost start losing interest. And I don't think you could ever get to that point. It's the constant improvement and trying to add something new each year that keeps me excited as an event organizer. So these surveys are worth their weight in gold. Okay, so moving on. So yeah, this is explaining how the survey was done. 34 competitors did this survey. It would have been awesome to get more. It's obviously hard to get people to sometimes to give their time because it's a bit of a comprehensive one. But thank you to the 34 who did it. Here's some imagery from the event. The local media did a great job of reporting it. It was on the television, local news television. It was in the newspaper. This headline was awesome. Anton, surname is Payne. So the headline was "Pain Reigns Supreme in World Championship." I love that. So thank you to all the media and everybody for reporting on the event. A postcode analysis was undertaken. So this is the economic impact part of it. So 73 registrations as was reported. So 86% were from outside the Geraldton area. So again, this is really important for the local authorities and businesses to know that when you run an event like this, a big chunk of the economic benefit is coming from outside the area. It's not just residents, but people travelling from interstate, overseas, Perth, to spend their money in the area. So 86% of that was from outside this area, which is pretty impressive. Okay, I'll won't get into too much detail here, but Nick has done a very thorough review on how he comes towards this economic impact. You know, you've got to work out, well, firstly, how many people stayed in accommodation versus staying at a home, the average nights that they stayed, you know, then you have to work out how much they're actually spending per night. So this is all obviously all in the survey. People are honestly giving their feedback here, and you get to a weighted average spend of $97 per person per night, which is slightly down on last year, but it's always going to average, I guess, around the $100 mark, you know, for the foreseeable future. And then with that, you can basically calculate that. Well, in this case, 62 competitors, they average 7.2 nights, because that's the weighted average over here, at $97, and that came to $43,483 that was spent on accommodation. So it's a significant number. It always adds up more than you think. Then we have the eating out element, same thing. They estimate how much was spent per day. It came to $40 a person, which is, I think, very reasonable, you know, including breakfast, lunch and dinner. And once again, you time that by the 7.2 days they're in the area, 69 competitors, and they spent $20,000 on food. Last year was $22,000, slightly down because we actually had 81 entrants last year. And like I said, it was down just because there was another event happening at the same time. But either way, still an excellent result. Then we have the shopping in the local area. That was calculated at $62 a day per person. That actually came to a total of almost $32,000, which was up on last year. It was $24,000, so that was an improvement. Then activities, you know, anything outside of, you know, things, venues, attractions, entertainments, that came to $15 or $16 a day per person, which came to $3,500, which was also up on last year of $1,600. So with all that combined, we have a economic impact that was calculated down here at $126,000. So you add up the accommodation, the eating out, shopping, activities, which is averages out at $1,355, which is again $200 more up on the first event. And then we have the spending. Sorry, I'm just getting to grips with this. Obviously, when you run an event, you need to, you know, pay suppliers in the local area. I try to do as much as I can in this local area. If I can't be done here, I look elsewhere, but the bulk of the spending of this event is happening within the Geraldton Midwest area. So we got like printing, there's bags, the lifesaving club that did the safety. I had to buy anchor systems, the marquees, the stage, audio visuals, photography, DJ, entertainment, food, and event management for this event. That came to $27,000. You add that on to the spend here, and there's a economic benefit impact of $126,000. Basically, this part here, in case anyone's wondering, this is what I ended up paying myself to run this event. I had this goal after speaking a lot with Ben Proffitt, who you may know in the windsurf world is basically Mr. Windsurfing. He has a lot of experience with events, and he said the events that last the distance are the ones where the organizer pays themselves. You know, when I first started this, I thought, well, this is virtually a volunteer job, and it essentially just about is. However, it's not sustainable to put the amount of hours that I'm putting into this event and not get a cent out of it, because I've still got bills to pay. I don't actually have a full-time job. I spend so much time on this that I need to remunerate myself with something. So I actually budgeted, like the goal is, and this is just for you know, just I'd like to be open and honest about these things where I can. I basically decided, okay, if I'm going to do this moving forward, I'm going to budget 25% of the overall budget that I raise for this event as the event management fee. The event this year was about $46,000 to run, so I didn't quite get to that 25%, but it's just a goal. And I ended up with $8,000 to pay myself. Now, if you knew how much time I do everything, just in case you're not sure, but all the graphic design work, the poster, all the filming, all the editing, all the sponsors, dealing with sponsors, grant applications, writing the grant applications, they take days to do. The acquittals after the event, all the preparation for the event, doing interviews or local media. I mean, there is thousands of hours over the last few years I've put into this. So if I actually work out my hourly rate, we're talking $2-3 an hour, $4. So for anyone wondering, about how all that works, I thought I would just explain that. Put it this way, for the amount of time I put into this, it'd be easier for me to get a job at McDonald's and I'd make more money, easily. So anyway, that's this is good for me as well, because if I can just make a little bit of money out of it, it gives me that extra motivation to keep going. And the beauty is, it's almost like an incentive program as far as I'm concerned, because if I put a percentage, not so much a dollar value, but a percentage value on my I guess what I'm willing to pay myself, then it incentivizes me to raise more money. If I raise $1 million to run an event and I pay myself $250,000, which I don't foresee happening, but that means I've done an amazing job. And the event, there's $750,000 that we spent on a windsurf event. So I do think, as an event organizer, you should put that in there, and again, it incentivizes you to keep pushing forward. Otherwise, these events, after a few years, people give up, and that's why you see windsurf events come and go. So before the regatta, there's certain things you need to do. There's one called Notice of Race, which basically explains the general running and bits and pieces of the event. There's an event rules and regulation. That's all on the website, and it goes on the email communication when somebody registers. Pre-regatta planning and communication. So again, I'll skip over some of this. This part here, the vast majority of competitors felt the full entry race fee delivered good value when considering the merchandise, food and social inclusions. The bulk of the people spent $170 Australian dollars, which is about 100 US or 100 euros, give or take, on this event. And that included, obviously, the event itself. You got a t-shirt, a hat, keyring, stickers, poster, and 2 food vouchers at the food van. So I hope, it seems that most people thought that was good value. So here we've got a bit of some results. The notice of race was issued in plenty of time. So basically in the red here, that means that people have strongly agreed with this statement, and the blue is have agreed. And there's obviously other ones there's other answers that you can give where you don't agree or strongly disagree, but most of the people out there either strongly agreed or agreed with most of these questions. So these are in the survey, these are the questions, and these are obviously the results. 97% of people were in agreement that the notice of race was issued in plenty of time. I'll skip over it a little bit because, like I said, otherwise I'll be here for hours. Obviously we've got a 97% here and an 86% here and a 78%. So as the event organizer, I like to focus not only on the good numbers, but the lower numbers. So they're obviously the areas that can be improved. This part here, the information and recommendations on accommodation was useful. 86% are in agreement. I mean, I've made actually a video on all the accommodation options. I'm not sure what else I could do, but that was the result there. The online entry system was easy to use. This is probably an area that could be improved. The way Wave Rally works is that I'm the event organizer, but essentially the event is ratified and insured by Windsurfing WA as an authorising body. I can't actually run this event myself because I'd have to get public liability insurance and a whole bunch of things, and that just makes the event unfinancially viable, essentially. So I'm the event organizer, but Windsurfing WA is like the authorising body, so to speak. And so when people do an entry, they have to become a member of a sailing club, like a windsurf club, and or WWA themselves, which means you have to essentially register through their platform. It's called Rev Sports, which is very common throughout the sailing world in Australia. But sometimes it's like that system could be a little bit streamlined, I'll be honest. And hopefully I can work with those guys to make that a bit better. The full entry fee, $220. So the actual full entry fee is $220, but if you registered before a certain time, it was $170. I believe it was if you registered a week before the event. So you had a lot of time to get this $170 in the end, and most people did. The WhatsApp group communication was useful to keep up to date. Not everybody uses WhatsApp, so obviously 80% of people agreed, and it's probably 20% of people that don't use it. So yeah, I'll maybe add emails to that as well. Somebody mentioned, there was a talk about someone saying a text message on a phone, but I'd have to work that out. When you've got 80 odd entrants plus 20 odd volunteers plus everybody else, how to get all that information on a text message and collate it all. Again, just add it to the list of things I've got to do. There's just so much. Pre-regatta planning. Okay. A key theme was to further develop information streams and equipment. Okay, there's a lot of information in these pages. I will try to skip over it. For international participants, it might be useful to get the approximate dates earlier. The dates for the event, actually, I probably won't skip over some of these because there'll be some points here I probably need to address. The dates for this event was probably started to be advertised around March, April, like literally 8-9 months before the event, or probably even earlier. So I feel like there's plenty of time to know. Essentially, the event will happen on the second weekend of January. When I say the weekend, there's a waiting period that extends into the Friday and possibly Thursday now before. So it might end up happening on a Thursday or Friday, but essentially it's around that second weekend of January. Awesome, keep rolling. Epping event will be there next year. Awesome. I don't really use WhatsApp and don't even know about the group. So the group, it was advertised on the registration page. When you registered, you got an email and it mentions in there to join the group with a link. So I'm not sure how people cannot see it because it's literally it's in the registration email that you get. But obviously people don't always read that. This person's saying maybe text message is better. Maybe I'm just old. Yeah, so it's text message I'll have to see if I can do. Like I said, collating everyone's phone numbers would I'd have to work out how to that works. Possibly provide gear recommendations for new entrants. A larger wave board may be needed. Yeah, fair enough. I could probably communicate that a bit better for anyone who's not used to Coronation Beach. Essentially, there's a beach start, and the wind can be a little gusty off the line sometimes, and it does help to have a floaty board off the beach. Yep, fair point. Early entrants getting advantage by being placed in higher up heats is a good idea. So when you register early, you actually go up towards the upper end of the start heat, which gives you a slight advantage with trying to stay up there. And if you register last, you're at the bottom. Rather than a seeding round, that's essentially how it's done. I like that because it's obviously giving people who register early a reward. And I think that's fair enough. They should be rewarded for registering early, helping me give confidence that the event's going to happen. It would be great to wrap up the association registration in the fee. Maybe people don't start the race. Again, this is because of this WWA system, and hopefully this will be sorted out. At the moment, you got to register sometimes 2 times. Once with your local club, and then you've got to be like an affiliate member or do a single event race thing. Or it's just the way it is at the moment. I don't have a lot of control over that, but maybe I can work with the organisation to sort that out. Very minor piece of feedback. It would be good to know the allowed equipment earlier for those of us travelling from interstate. Well, there's a very comprehensive rules thing. It's on the website. You get it on the email. It's on the registration page. I'm not sure what else I can do to communicate that. I would have thought that was pretty clear, but obviously might have been missed. the $170, $200 fee was okay, but the extra $40 paid to WWA for the one-off event seemed a bit steep. Perhaps WWA could partially subsidize this. Okay, well, first of all, the event cost this year $46,000 to run. Now, if I just quickly do this calculation in my calculator, just so everyone is aware, but if I divide that by 74, which was the amount of entrants, that's $621 per person that it cost essentially to make this event happen. So and the bulk of people paid $170. So when someone pays $170, they're basically paying 25% of the cost of running this event. So even though it might seem steep, essentially it's cheap. Like if I actually ran the event purely on entry fees, you'd be sitting there under a 3x3 marquee with one flag in the sand, and that'd be about it. Well, okay, that might be a bit dramatic, but you hear what I'm saying, right? Obviously, this is only partially, and like I said, 25% paying for the actual event. So if the lower I go here, the less I can provide at the event, essentially. The extra $40 paid to WWA. So if you weren't a member of a club, there's an insurance component, and the one-off fee, you have to pay $40. That's out of my look. If this whole event is run because I can use WWA. If I had to pay for public liability insurance for this event, I mean, I'd hate to think how much it would cost. I'm going to take a stab at it and say it costs $20,000 or $15,000 or $10,000. So if you think $40 is expensive to pay for WWA, imagine paying $300 each so I could get the insurance and not use WWA. That's essentially what is going on here. So there's not much I can do about that. WWA could partially subsidize this. They actually already are subsidizing the event because they're one of the sponsors. They chipped in $2,000 for the event. So they already are contributing. Essentially, all the money that you're spending is going straight back into the event. No one's making any money at the WWA. Hopefully I'm sounding reasonable about this, but I'm really trying to get across to everybody who's never organized a windsurf event that everything is done on the smell of an oily rag, essentially. And that the value that you're getting the only way you could get more value, actually, is if I paid myself $0, right? So like I said, in this case, I paid $8,000. Divide that by 72, so it's $111 cheaper. So I could make this, so the entry fee is $60, but that would mean I pay myself $0, and I'll probably do that for one more year and the event's over. Like that is literally the reality. So the question I would have is, you either pay $170 and see the event continue, or pay $60 and it doesn't. And I'm being brutal, but that is essentially the end result of it, because I'm not putting 1,000 hours each year in for nothing. It's not sustainable. I can't do it. Anyway, hopefully I have made my point. Need a bit more regular updates to Facebook group. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's cool. So add that to I obviously do all the Facebook, all the social media as well. That's just so everybody understand. There's nobody else. I literally do everything except on the actual event days where I have volunteers helping. Everything else is done by me, right? I just want to make sure, because sometimes people think, oh, you and your team. I'm like, there is no team. It's me. That's it. Even all this stuff, designing all this, all the flags. You know how long it took to even design that graphic design on that flag? It took weeks. I had to put every flag of every country. I mean, anyway, you get the point. Event management and registration. Competitors were unanimous in their view 2026 was conducted in good spirits. Excellent to know. Okay, let's just get through here. Please provide your feedback on the following aspects. So these are, again, questions. Now, this is very positive. The lowest number here is 97% in agreement. So this is, not a lot of room for improvement here. The event had a positive feeling. 100% of people agreed. I felt welcome and included. 100% of people agreed. This is, huge sway towards the strongly agree in all these, which was fantastic. On-site registration was easy. I liked the event merchandise, t-shirt, hat, bag, stickers, poster. It was good to have professional photos, video, drone. Yeah, good. I liked the food tokens. Yeah, so every entrant got 2 food, basically poker chips that I got made for the event. And every entrant got 2, plus volunteers I was handing out to them too, to keep them fed. So that's very positive. Event management, registration, fantastic. All right, here's some feedback from the event. Just so you know, this document is 45 pages. That's what's amazing about what Nick does, you know. So valuable. Okay. Brilliant value for money. Okay, so someone thinks it's brilliant value for money, especially considering the food tokens. At other athletic events, you pay extra for food. Those food tokens cost me $18 each. All right, so when someone got 2, that was $36. So essentially, when I collected the food tokens off the food van, and I had to pay, you know, $3,500–4,000 in food. You know, again, that's just so you understand the value here. Event atmosphere was superb. Excellent on all fronts here. The lack of reliability of the start horn. Yeah, so there was a starter, and there was a few issues with that. Generally, I'd say 98% of the time was fine, but there was definitely a couple of moments where I realized I need to sort some things out, and I have noted that, and it will be sorted. Start volunteers did a wonderful job. The 2-sided bag for selecting the start position is a great invention. I've witnessed start draw cheating at past events. A fail-safe start signal, 2 pieces of flat timber hinged at one end, handles on each side, and used in a clapper fashion. Yep, so there's different ways to start a race. I've got this sort of air horn. Well, you know, the volunteer uses it. That's Rose, who amazingly does the whole 2 days. Yeah, there was a part where someone in the crowds yelled start before the actual starter said it, so there was a bit of a false start thing going on. But anyway, I've got a few things to sort out there, but that's an easy fix. Event was ran extremely well, an awesome job by Paul. Only suggestion is to have a clock. Yeah, so I actually did have a clock. It was next to the banner on the container. The only thing was I bought this clock and it had this backing on it, plastic backing, and it melted in the sun. And I thought I discarded it, but then Mark Wilson got the clock and actually ripped the back end of it, and we put it back on the wall. So it may have been missed while you're there, but there actually was a clock on the side of the container there. So apologies that you didn't see that. All the pro photos could be made available to everyone, not just those pics deemed good enough. Yeah, so all the pics that were done by the photographers were uploaded to a website called PixieSet. If you go on the Wave Rally website and scroll to the very bottom, it's got links to the different social media platforms, including PixieSet, and you can see the photos. You know, I have to obviously pay the photographers their time, and there's only so much budget for that. So there was a couple of hundred photos uploaded. If I said to them, I want 10,000 photos on there, I probably couldn't afford it. You know, this is the other issue as well, right? So I have a budgetary restraint, but noted, obviously the photos is something that, you know, you try and get as many as you can. More photos, even for people not too good. Yeah, no. Well, look, next year, it's good feedback, because I do listen. Like, I'll listen, like next time I organise a photographer, I'll just, you know, I'll note these and say, look, we try and get as many different people as possible. The event management was top level. Okay, that's great. Okay. Everything was excellent. I've never been part of a competition that's run as well as this one. Would love to hear more from David Bond. David Bond was the commentator, or, you know, on the video. He was like the host. He did an amazing job. Dave, if you're listening to this, thank you so much for stepping in and helping there, mate. So I've got a few photos here. That was done from Tanya Kauser, local in Geraldton. Thank you so much to Tanya for taking the photos. And all right, racing on the water. Competitors rated the standard of race management highly. The experience was the on-water experience was extremely positive. Okay, now let's move on. So again, here's the question. So Ranged from 100% in agreement to 91% in agreement. The daily briefing provided enough information. Okay, well, most people agreed. The race management was appropriate. Good. The course length, overall duration of races was appropriate, and a target of 10 rounds in a 3-day event is appropriate. So actually this question in the end wasn't, because the questions were actually done just before the event. But when the event happened, the 3rd day, the wind looked iffy, and I actually ended up making a 3-day event into a 2-day competing event. So, which actually worked, and in the future, that's what I'm going to do. It's just going to be a 2-day event because that's all you need. So this question was slightly misworded only because it was made just before the event, or the question was made. However, most people agreed that that was appropriate. So anyway, that's all quite positive there. Racing on the water, okay, this is continued. The onboard experience was a huge success. So just quickly, but essentially it's a beach start. If you weren't there, there's a beach start. You race through the waves. There's a jibe mark out the back. You came back in, jibed around an inside mark, went back out, jibed out through the waves, out that mark again, and came back and through a finish line. For all the heats, there was no actual beach finish. You actually raced through a finish line that was right near the beach. It was only the finals that we did the run. So if anyone watched the final video and think, oh God, I want to enter wave rally because I have to run up the beach, well, that's only if you make the final or finals. All the heats weren't done like that. For the future, I'm going to make a few little changes to the course to make it even more exciting and more sort of interesting. But you'll have to wait and see what that is. The beach starts worked well. Okay, well, 100% of people agreed. That's good. I wasn't sure if everyone was loving that, but yeah, most people agreed. The race course was fun and exciting. Okay, 100% of people agreed there. The finish line at the beach worked well. Or 91% agreed. Obviously, 9% didn't. Like I said, on the heats, there was that line at the beach. I really don't know how I can prove that. I think it's the best possible thing you can do. I'm assuming that 9% might have been related to the finals where we had the sand run. But I can get onto that a bit later as well, because I think there's more comments about that. Weight divisions for men is a good idea. Yeah, so obviously in this event, we actually divide people into 3 equal groups. They get weighed at registration, and 94% of people think that that's good. So that will be retained. Racing on water. Sentiment was overwhelmingly positive. Okay, suggestions for improvement were framed as refinements rather than criticisms. I'll just skip over this a little bit. So here we go. The condensed 2-day format was broadly supported. Good. As was the case last year, equipment dynamics are still causing some angst, but changes made. So I'll get onto that as well. Weight divisions were generally supported with clearer communication with semi-finals. Okay, yep. Okay. So let's get into the comments here. Perfection by PBB. Well, thanks so much. What remains from the kit rules is that you need a minimum rocker tri-fin board that is barely a wave board. Yeah, so basically the rules for wave rally, for anyone who hasn't entered or knows, for the boards, is it must be a multi-fin wave inspired board. Well, a wave board, or so no slalom boards or free ride boards. There are obviously boards that you can buy in the market that are free wave, which are flatter rocketed, wider tails, and they are actually allowed in the event. Because if you don't, you've then excluded a fair chunk of the population that has a board like that, which is not the idea. However, it can cause a little bit of angst, because if you're on your quad heavily rocketed down the line wave board versus someone on a free wave flatter rocker board, it's going to be hard. I do have some ideas of how to sort that aspect out, which I won't divulge right now because I haven't confirmed anything, but there is some things you can do to make that a bit fairer. So again, a minimum rocker tri-fin board. The Severn Dyno, the infamous Severn Dyno, it comes up a lot. In WA, a lot of people have Severn boards, so the Dyno gets a lot of representation over here, was the board to be on, or a very similar board. Logan ended up borrowing one from a non-competitor just to stay in the game. So Logan won Well, he was a very good sailor. Well, first of all, he's an excellent sailor, but he also won his weight division and placed, well, he placed fourth, I think, in the mega final. Of less importance was having a 5-baton. Oh, so by the way, just get on this point here. You know, obviously it's a fun event, but once you get to the finals, everyone who's in the final wants to win, right? So you're going to, of course, choose a board that is within the rules, but will keep you competitive. And that's fair enough. You know, there's nothing wrong here by getting a Svendina or anything like that. It's within the rules, right? And that's on me to see how I can tighten that up, or if it needs tightening or whatever. But essentially, that's, yeah, obviously not everyone has a board like that. And in this case, Logan ended up borrowing one just so he could at least have a chance against everybody else. Of less importance was having a 5-baton free ride sail, which you wouldn't take out in the waves. Yeah, so again, the rule is that it's a max 5-baton wave sail, or actually a 5-baton sail, no cambers, anything like that. Now you can actually buy from certain manufacturers a 5-baton, basically free ridey style sail, bump and jump. A few people had them. I'm actually less worried about the sails because, you know, you can get a 5-baton wave sail and just bag it out a bit, put a bit less downhaul on, tighten up the leech, and, you know, it'll essentially give you the drive and power that you need to be competitive. It's too hard. I can't sort of sit here and say, okay, you're allowed up to 5 battens, but not this sail and that sail, and go through 1,000, you know, a list of sails going back the last 40 years. It's just impossible. Not practical, but I think, you know, essentially people understand that you can go up to 5 battens. And, yeah, I will reiterate for anyone wanting to enter the event, the idea is not to have a free ride sail, it's to have a wave stuff, right? So if you can, play within the spirit of the event. You know? The fastest sail was on a Simmer Enduro. Yeah, so that was relating to Jesper Orth, who got back to the beach first, but didn't actually win the event. So, you know, he came second, but he had a Simmer Enduro. I actually wasn't aware of that sail. It's a 5-baton free ridey style sail that Simmer does, which is quite interesting. Usually you think of a free ride sail as having at least 6 battens, but that one didn't. But anyway, yeah, you know, the thing was, he was the fastest in certain heats. Other heats he wasn't. You know, and you look at Anton, who ended up winning. He was on a full-on down the line 4-baton sail that his dad made. You know, basically polar opposite sails, and he was keeping up with him in speed. You know, so the board. Yes, the sail's important. I think the board is probably more so. Having a real quad wave board meant you couldn't plane off the beach. Yep, that is an issue. Again, I will think of a solution to help this. Look, basically, I said I wouldn't confirm anything. What I am thinking, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but is to basically have a rocker template, like a meter-long wooden rocker template, which would be relatively generous. I'm not going to say it has to be a full-on down-the-line wave board, but you know, if your board is questionable, I can basically, you can put a rocker template on this board and say, look, this is dead flat. This is not the spirit of the event. But yeah, I don't want to get too much into that right now because I haven't confirmed it, and I have to work out how logistically I would do that, whether it's just for the people in the final or, you know, this sort of thing. Medium weight final probably should have been restarted. Yeah, that was a bugger. I'll admit that. Essentially, this was where we had the starter rose, and somebody actually shouted basically go before she blew the horn, and a few people launched off the line 1 or 2 seconds before everybody else. But by the time everyone realised what was going on, the sailors were 50 metres out in the water, or, you know, it all happened so quick. And I will do everything I possibly can to make sure that doesn't happen again. You know, I'll take full responsibility for that. Unfortunately, I was quite far away. I was filming on my drone. I'm sitting at a desk. I saw this happen on my drone, and I was sort of almost going, that was a false start, but no one could hear me because I was 50 metres away from the starter. And like I said, by the time we worked out exactly what was going on, they were well into the race. So, yep, that is noted for sure. 2 days, 5 heats per day was good. Any more would be tough. Yeah, so this is going back to the point I made before. It's now a 2-day format. Actually, I found that 5 heats was pushing it for some people. They were coming up to me already knackered. So what I'm doing is there's going to be 4, the new format is going to be 4 heats in day 1 and up to 5 in day 2 if you make the final. Actually, 1, 2, 3, yeah, that's correct. Some people would do up to 6 on the second day if you happen to be in finals for both your weight category and the mega final. But yeah, for most people, it'll be max 5, 4 to 5 per day. No prototype sales. This one, yeah, I don't really feel like this was really an issue anymore because, like I said, like Anton, he had a custom sail, but it was a 4-batten proper wave sail. That's what he uses. I don't think he had any advantage against anyone with a production sail. Boards is more the issue, I feel. And because this year we had those size restrictions, so there was a chart. If you were between 80 and 85 kilos, your max sail was 5.5 or whatever it was. I can't remember, but essentially that was the main issue, was the sail size. Again, yeah, I mean, like a prototype sail. So I just want to quickly get back onto this. If it's something that's blatantly just not within the spirit of the event, then I'll pull it up. But I didn't really see that. I didn't see anybody at the event that did it. Last year it was a bit of an issue, but this year it wasn't. So yeah, I didn't feel like I need to address it too much. From a personal perspective, having the heavyweight final and mega final only 20 meters apart really knocked me flat. I should have been fitter. But maybe run finals in this order to be fairer. Middle weight first, heavy, light, women, mega. I think Jess was clearly exhausted as well. We are going to team up to work on fitness next year, but it was definitely a factor at the end. The wind was a bit fluky later in the day, so allowing the starter the discretion to wait up to 30 seconds for a solid gust before starting would be good. Yep, no, that's a fair point. Now, it could have been 20 minutes apart, but on my planning, the gap between the heavyweight and mega should have been 30 minutes. So I can't remember if it ended up being 20, but in the actual documentation for the event, there should be a 30-minute gap. We may have done 20 because we had to push the event back late because of the wind shifting during the day. I can't 100% remember that, but anyway, if it was that, apologies. So yeah, the point being made here is that essentially there's different weight category finals and they all happen 20 minutes apart. Actually, originally I had it at 30 minutes apart, and then a few people came up to me and said, Paul, just make them 20, we don't need 30-minute gaps. So I actually changed it to 20-minute, and then the mega final I had a 30-minute gap. But again, like I said, it might have been 20, I can't remember. And now he's saying the order that these finals run in is women first, then lightweight, then middleweight, then heavy, and then mega. Now, the heavyweight guys would find it a bit harder to get off the beach. That is a fair point. So this suggestion is to change the order of the finals. Yeah, could be done. And so I won't rule that out. I'll admit, it is hard. I mean, there's less women in the event. I'd love to see more women come in. If you're a woman and listening to this, please join in. It's great to see more women in the windsurfing. But it is tough for a woman to get in the mega final because essentially the way it works is all the heats are mixed, and so you're racing against everybody. So there are definitely women out there that are capable. In fact, Karen Jaggi just missed out on making the mega final. I would have absolutely loved if she made it. And to be honest, I'd probably like nothing better than a woman to win the mega final. That would just be awesome. It'd be amazing, just beating all the men. So there's definitely women out there that are fast and that could get into the final and potentially win it, no problem. But again, we don't have a lot of women entering. So yeah, this order, I could definitely look into it. So I'll get back. Well, I'll see what happens there. The other thing I will say is, there definitely will be 30 minutes apart for next year because I've shifted the event, the heat structure a bit to give me more time. So anyway, thanks for that comment. The mega final should be finished by running through the big inflatable gate that should have been set up at the top of the beach. The photos and videos would see the competitors running through the gate. Yeah, this would include a short run rather than 80 metre. Okay, so there's this big blow-up structure that when you enter the admin site, you walk through. So this person has said, this should be on the beach. Good point. Good point. Only thing is, so a couple of things. That structure is quite susceptible to wind. And obviously, if I set it up on the beach, I'd have to make sure it's tied down very solidly. I actually borrowed that from someone as well. So I'm quite conscious on damaging the thing. But so that's one thing. It has to be plugged into electricity. There's this fan that constantly runs it. So if I put it on the beach, I've got to run a lead down to the beach. And there's a fan on the beach, which hopefully is not taking in too much sand and destroying it. The run. So there were some people saying that the run was too long. So it was about 70, 80 metres, the run. Some people in this case saying the 10 metre run. The only problem is if you make the run too short, it doesn't really serve much of a purpose other than just being a formality. I do like the fact that you have a run where it gives you an unpredictable end to the event. From my point of view as event organizer, when I'm trying to generate media attention, which therefore drives sponsorship and grants and the whole thing, you want those unpredictable elements in there. Okay, some people might say it's not fair, whatever. That's the race. That's the Wave Rally format. It's people entering the event know that this is part of the event. Having said all that, maybe I'll reduce it from, say, 70, 80 metres to 50 or 60 or 40. I think 10 metres is too short. There's no element about that that's, the only thing that would work is if two people came to the beach at exactly the same time or one person fell over, but that's not going to happen very often. Anyway, having said all that, I do agree. It would be awesome to have a big structure at the finish line they run through and the whole thing. I just have to work out how to do that and whether it's possible. But thank you for that comment. It's good. Age and skill more important than weight. This can possibly be analysed by looking at results as a function of a sailor's weight. So consider age classes, copy from LT. Well, first of all, these weight categories are basically copied from LT. That's where I got the idea from. The age classes, again, there's a format, 2-day format, which is already chock-a-block. So if I have also age category finals and the whole thing, that adds more time and I just can't physically get through it all. Having said all that, it might be cool to have something there. The thing I like about the weight is that, you only need to be able to plane on a windsurf board and water start. You don't even need to jibe. You could literally fall on a jibe as long as you can water start out of there and get back. That's the main skill level you need to enter the event. So everybody who enters Wave Rally can basically do that. So what's more important than their age is just their weight. Because if you're 100 kilos versus 50, that's a huge discrepancy rather than if you're 18 or you're 45. Because the 18-year-old and 45, they're both planing. They both can water start, So I found that the weight thing is more interesting. Having said all that, the oldest person was 72 and the youngest was 13. So once you get, especially in the senior years, it's very hard for them to compete. So I actually think that maybe you just have the extremities. Maybe you have a real 65 plus category just for that, and maybe an under 16 or 18, that kind of thing. But anyway, yep, fair point. A junior division would be great. Okay, so this is following on from what I'm saying. A small prize, the highest place, under 18, under 16, under 14. Yeah, again, add it to the list of things to do. So many different categories. It's just more complexity for me. Having said all that, I am up to maybe rolling this into one under age category somehow. Condensing the race into 2 days was a good call. Yeah, thanks, I agree. Maybe even target 15 rounds in 3 days, just depending. Having the outside burr was so fun. Well, we're not going to do 3 days competition anymore. 2 days is it. I've realized that that's the way to go. It's just, people were pretty exhausted 15 rounds would be really hard for a lot of people. I'm writing to share a few observations that I hope may help improve. Okay, here we go. The weight divisions were not clearly communicated at the weigh-in. Okay, I'll finish this. It would be very helpful if each competitor's weight division were known from the beginning. For example, by displaying a small symbol next to the athlete's name indicating their division. Additionally, the seeding... Okay, well, let me just address this. So, again, the way it works for anyone who has never entered a wave rally is that there's a registration the first morning of the first day. And you turn up at this admin tent and I say to you, oh, you just got to jump on the scales and tell me your weight. There's a scale set up there, right? So they come in and say, oh, I'm 85 kilos. I actually punch that into the computer on an Excel sheet next to their name. And then I do that, 74 times in this last event. And it all gets entered into an Excel sheet. Now, the women don't, they just go into the women's category, right? They don't get weighed. But the men, they all get weighed, and then it gets divided into 3 equal groups, right? It's not like if you weigh between, under 70 kilos, you're a lightweight, and if you weigh between 70 and 85, you're a middleweight. No, you weigh everybody, all the men, and then you divide it into 3 equal sized groups. Because there's no point having a weight category if there's 5 in the heavyweight and 70 in the middleweight and 2 in the lightweight, right? You want to have equal sized groups. So to collate that information, you can't do that super quick. I mean, you can, obviously, you put it in an Excel sheet, but I'm doing the registration, then I'm getting up on stage and doing the skippers meeting, then I'm telling the jet ski to move the ball. There's obviously lots going on. You don't really need to know your weight division super early. Okay, it might be nice. You only actually need to know it for the actual final, all right? However, having said all that, I agree that I will do my best to get this information out quicker, because that just so you know where you're in. When you say there's a symbol next to you, so basically, the volunteers have to write a name on a banner. So I would have to make sure that every time they write a name, they put a symbol next to them, which again adds complexity. However, having said all that, I will definitely note this and see if I can improve the communication of this earlier than was done in this last event. So I acknowledge that. Additionally, the seeding for the semi-finals could be improved. Well, I'll just quickly... Some semi-finals appeared significantly stronger than others, which affected the overall balance. So there's no more semi-finals anymore. I've scrapped it. Basically, you're dead right. Because there's a lot of people that make it in the semis, because there's all these different weight categories. So you've got 16 up to, or 20 people in each semi-final for every weight category. So there's a huge discrepancy in skill levels. It's not needed. I'm not going to have a semi-final anymore. It's just if you end up ranking in the top 10 or whatever in your weight category by the end of the event, you'll automatically qualify for a final, which actually means I can stick one more round in. Basically, I'm taking the semis out and adding one more round. And that's how it's going to be done. So this issue is now gone, essentially. So, but good. It's good feedback. I agreed with you on that one. I'm sharing this feedback solely to improve the competition. Yeah, no, I love all this feedback. So thank you. I had a great time participating. Overall, everything was well organised. These are just small details. Yep, and it's the details that matter. The small details make big impressions. I acknowledge that. Okay, next one. I found it hard on my quad waveboard to fetch the inside mark, often not having any room to bear away for speed. Not sure how you change this though. I found it hard to fetch the inside mark. As the course out through the waves needs to be at a broader angle to take into account jumping. Okay, I actually thought it was the opposite problem. I thought that it was a very broad going out and a bit harder for people to come in. Basically at Corros, you go out, and then when you turn around the buoy, you've got all these swell lines, and you obviously need to get on a swell and then go hard, go upwind to make some ground. That is sailing at Corros. It's hard to make the course exactly perfect because the wind shifts, a few degrees here, a few degrees there. I honestly didn't think this issue was too big of a problem in the end. The wind did shift, as we all know over there. The wind shifted quite radically one afternoon, and I had to move the buoy up of 20 to 40 meters. But apart from that, I think this is part of the event. You just have to deal with what is going on. As far as the course, I obviously do my best to make it as fair as possible. Oh, okay, yeah, you're saying here next year use your thruster and a non-production dyno. Yeah, well, thrusters will probably make it easier for you. Okay, I think 10 rounds in 2 days, plus all semis and all finals, is really pushing it. Yeah, so now this will be slightly reduced. There's no semis, so it'll be easier going. So that's just addressing that. It is a social event, and there are some social sailors who aren't necessarily fit enough to do 6 heats in a day. No one actually did 6 heats in a day this last one. It was max 5. However, actually, hold on, what was there? There might have been 6 if you were in... Actually, it's a good point. You may have done 6 that final day if you were in your weight category final and the mega final. So there's a few people, that's true. But anyway, it'll be less next year. I guess it's doable, but I had the impression there was quite some sailors who didn't fully participate on day 2. Yeah. You always get a few people that drop out for various reasons. The course was good, but sometimes it took a bit long to make the call to move the outside marker. Yeah, well, obviously, as soon as I get feedback, as you can imagine, someone will come up to me and say, Paul, it's a bit hard to... it's always a bit reactive rather than proactive, right? Because the course is set, everyone's happy, then the wind shifts, right? And heats are starting every 10 minutes. So inevitably, someone is starting a heat on this course with the new shifted wind angle. Then they come back, and if you're lucky, someone from that heat comes up to me and says, oh, Paul, the wind shifted, and it's a little bit harder. But usually it takes a heat or two before that to happen. Then I'm quickly running over to the jet ski guy and saying, we need to move the buoy. And that takes a few minutes. So, by the time it's shifted, we've gone through 1 or 2 heats. I can't obviously preempt what the wind's going to do. It's always reactive, but I get onto it as soon as somebody tells me it's an issue, I'm onto it straight away, and I can't do much more than that. Cool. The finish line caused confusion among both the helpers and the participants. Some actually thought that whoever reached the beach first was the winner. Okay, so I'm assuming this was related to the final because it was very clearly communicated before the finals that all the heats finished by just going across to checkered buoys. I don't think I had anyone tell me they were confused about that. The only thing I can think of is at the final where you actually had to run through the marker, sail through the marker buoys and then run up the beach. I could be wrong, but that's my impression of what you're saying here. It was a good idea to have a beach finish for finals. It added to the excitement and kept it interesting. Yeah, well, that's good. Beach finish provided a fantastic up-close spectacle for the crowds. Yeah, see, that's an important point that someone has raised there. Again, when you're thinking of elements in an event, you have to think from the media perspective. Yeah, yes, obviously the people there, they've got to have a great time. But when it comes to the actual event and the finals, I'm the one basically doing the filming or getting people to film. And all I'm thinking is, what can I do to make this look as positive and as good as possible? When you have that beach run finish, they all run past all the crowd, everyone, and you see all the cheering people, and it adds this fantastic human element. If the finish just happened on the water, it would be a bit of an anticlimax. They go through the line, and everyone's like, "Oh, okay, cool," and that's it. I'm not changing that beach finish past the crowd part. It's gold. It has to be there. Look, okay, I will say, when I say I won't finish that or I won't stop that, the contest will constantly evolve, right? So if there's a better solution than that, if there's something that creates more crowd involvement and more excitement, I will change it. But right now, that beach finish is more exciting and has more crowd involvement than finishing on the water. So until there's a better solution, that's not changing. Social. I will admit, this is the weaker part of the event, all right? I'm so focused on running the event and doing all the preparation and the posters and the website. Oh, I forgot to mention, I do all that, the website as well. Huh? All that, that's all part of my job, everything. Is that the social aspect is somewhere where I can improve, because I'm so exhausted doing this event that I almost just want to curl up in a ball by the end of the day and jump into bed. But of course, then you've got to start thinking more the social side. So I probably need to make some budget or something for someone who's willing to take that side on. The welcome and actually, no, it's very positive. Okay, the welcome and celebration events, presentation, prize distribution were particularly well received. Music entertainment was also seen to add positively. Nighttime beach parties recorded slightly lower agreement. Collectively, the results indicate the social program was meaningful contributor to the enjoyment. Okay, so we have a bit of different numbers here. The social events, welcome and celebration party were fun. Okay, I mean, as we can see here, the blue part is a bit like bigger than the previous survey questions, which also means there's room for improvement. But overall, that's good score. Having a DJ to provide music added positively, 94%. Nighttime beach parties were fun. Now this area needs to be looked at. Okay, 83%, it's still a good score, but there's definitely room for improvement there. As also says, you know, the bigger blue part. So I will definitely be looking into that side of it, how to improve the nighttime beach party part. The presentation event was fun. It seemed like there was a good amount of prizes across all categories. Okay, yeah, prizes is always a tricky one too, because they either cost money or I'm reaching out to sponsors saying, give me more, and I did get quite a few bits and pieces, but I'd love to get more stuff, but you know, I am limited by the generosity of others. Socials, okay, here we go. Feedback reinforced. A strong community feel. This is a very core element of Wave Rally, the feeling that they're part of a community. Inclusive touches, novelty awards. Okay, let's get into the comments. This was the club where you have the presentation as a stage set up, and it's a good area to do all that. Okay, socials. Fridge works well. We will look to huddle up donations for the party. So I actually had a fridge this year that was connected. Not a lot of people actually end up using it, which made me think, oh, I don't need it for future years. I'll have to have a look into it. You know, the thing with the fridge is it obviously chews up a bit of electricity, and also it's just another thing for me to organise and manage, you know, turn it on and off each night. I mean, they sound like small things, but when you've got 1,000 other things going on, anything you can do to simplify life helps. So I'll have to see if I continue with the fridge. Like I said, only maybe 2 or 3 people used it in the whole event. So anyway, a licensed alcohol truck, bar for party maybe, enclosed disco party tent, taxi coach, campgrounds, goodies, open. Okay. So on one hand, earlier on, I've got someone saying the entry fee's too high, and on this one, I'm saying, I want more. So can you see the problem I have sometimes with these? So let's get into this licensed alcohol truck. All right, a few things about this. Now, the alcohol thing, as an event organizer, I get a little bit nervous with the whole alcohol thing, because everyone drives down to Coronation Beach, and a lot of people stay there, but a lot of people have to drive 25 kilometres back to Geraldton at the end of the day. And obviously I can't take responsibility for everybody, but as soon as you add alcohol into the mix and someone's driving down the road, I would absolutely hate it if somebody had one too many drinks and had an accident, or even just slightly. Yeah, I mean, again, that's not on me, but as soon as I provide that service, I feel partly responsible for it. You know, so essentially what I said to people was, it's just a BYO thing. You know, if you want to bring a beer down to the beach or 2, or bring whatever, bring as much as you want, but it sort of removes me from that responsibility. As soon as you have also the other thing is, as soon as you have a licensed venue of any kind, there's added other parts to it. You know, I'd have to look at it again because I didn't think about an alcohol truck. But if you get someone to set up a bar, you need security. You need a cordoned off. This is by law. You need a cordoned off area by fence, so under 18s can't get into it, and the whole rigmarole around all this. So it's quite tricky. But maybe an alcohol truck gets around that or somehow. I'm not sure. Anyway, look, I'm not saying that these sort of things won't happen in the future, but I was sort of just saying to people, look, if you want a beer or whatever, just bring your own. That's why I provided the fridge as well. But yeah, okay. An enclosed disco party tent. Okay, so we have an open area. This is where the party thing. This short answer, that costs more money. So again, where's the tent being set up? It's not going to be set up here, I guess, because that just ends up enclosing this whole area. It's somewhere else, and then you've got to set up a sound system, and there's a lot going on. Sounds easy, just set up a disco party tent. Well, there's another 5-10 grand, or whatever, pick a number. But again, more money. People don't want to spend more on an entry, but they also want more stuff. So it's tricky. A taxi coach for party goers. Yeah, I looked into that. Quite expensive. For me to organise a coach, it ended up being quite a few $1,000s, which I just wasn't willing to do for the few people that was going to use it, essentially. So, yeah, at the moment, it's not really viable. Open public car park for extra accommodation. Yeah, well, okay, so this is something for to know. We had quite a lot of spots that was reserved for wave rally in the background here. And I said to people, look, share spots, just go on there, roll out a swag. You could have I even asked the council, and I'll probably communicate this better. This event site, if you want to roll up a swag just in here, be my guest. I said to the rangers, I said, look, do you mind if a few people just sleep there just so they can also, keep an eye on the gear? And I said, yeah, no worries. So just roll out a swag, put it here, no worries. Okay. Over the years, I've learned that the biggest factor towards event enjoyment is the social aspect. Yeah, if the event has a community feel, gives a chance to catch up with mates. These are the elements. Yeah, I totally agree. So again, this part, the social part, it can be improved. I mean, everyone's there mingling and stuff, but I'd like to make that part a much more key part of it. I forgot to pack some beer for the cool box area. Maybe the party would be better if people were specifically reminded to bring your own. Yeah. So again, this is the issue here. I think I mentioned a few times about the BYO, but I have to be careful what I say. I can't get up on stage in front of everyone and go, everyone bring your beer and let's all have a big piss up, because I'm essentially instigating that as the event organizer. Essentially, if someone asks me, I say, look, yeah, if you want to bring a beer, I'm not going to stop you, type thing. Because I don't want to be liable. If someone has one too many drinks, crashes their car, something horrible happens, I have to be really careful as an event organizer that I'm not implicated in that by encouraging something, because this is where it's a bit tricky for me. But I provided a fridge, and I think I even said it a few times, either on the entry somewhere, that there's no license, but you can bring a beer or whatever. DJ is a good idea. The style of music being played didn't match the crowd. Yep. So Cool Sounds Collectives, Adrian is a windsurfer. He's a super, super nice guy. But sometimes the crowd aren't gelling with some of the musical choices. So I'll look into this. Please don't bring the DJ back. If music was being murdered, I think that with the average age of the competitors, it is inappropriate. Yeah. So look, obviously music is such everyone's got different tastes. However, I do acknowledge that I'll have to do something with with some of the entertainment and how I can improve that. Loved Paul's outfit. Thank you. That's cool. I bought an 80s outfit. Anyway, I won't get into it. It was a bit of a, let's just say my outfit was too revealing. All right, presentation, small. Even token prizes for the wipeout of the day, legend status, who compete. Wildest jump. Yeah, no, it's a good point. I'll add that in. Sometimes I don't know who's actually done the biggest wipeout unless somebody tells me. I think the whoever's the oldest is cool, or the youngest. So there's definitely things there. A raffle for a prize that any entrant can win. Yeah, I like that idea. Yeah, no, this is good. I will definitely like in case anyone's wondering. Throughout the year, I basically highlight anything that I haven't done or could be improved. I literally take this comment and put it into a list and then work through them and tick them off. So for example, this one, I'll go, okay, I need to add this prize and that prize, and then I've ticked that off the list, you know? So it's not just like I just read this once and that's the end of it. I literally make a list of I go through every single comment in this whole document and take what I feel is relevant and can be improved. All right, overall event experience. Most people were overwhelmingly positive. Okay, this is what we were just touching on before. A weighted average of 8.71, which if a scale out of 100 is rated as 97. 97%. That's pretty good. It's a much better score than I ever got at school. But there's still these ones down here. I've got to convert these into 9s. Improve the social aspect. No more 80-meter beach running. Okay, overall event experience. Overall sentiment was extremely positive, fun and well organised. Many regard as one of the best events they'd attended. Cool. Okay. Praise for his inclusive, laid-back atmosphere. Organisation delivery was widely commended. Okay, so what do we got here? Considering all the aspects of experience, how would you describe the event? A really well organised and fun event. The real genius lies in how the heats work. Yeah, that is. There's a lot of thought put into that, even as simple as it is. But even the design of that banner took ages. This should be emphasised that sailors aren't as strong aren't discouraged. Awesome event. Great opportunity to meet other sailors. Best event I've ever been to easily. Cool, wow. Brilliant, loved it. Needs some tweaks, but very well done. Yep. I'll be talking to a few friends into putting it in their event list. That's what I want to hear. Share, spread the word. Brilliant, super fun. I think a couple of seeding rounds would be good. Yeah, unfortunately not enough time, and it adds a lot of complexity. I gave it some strong consideration, but it's not as straightforward as you think. Plus, I do like the idea of rewarding people who enter quickly. And as you know, as you go through the rounds, the seeding happens, it basically happens organically. I kind of like that. I think it's good. It gives everyone a chance to race everybody. Easygoing, fun event. I'll just continue on. I enjoyed it most when I was in my band, so to speak. Yeah, that's a fair point. I think, it's a bit tricky. But like I said, as the event rolls on, the racing becomes more intense. I kind of see that's the other thing too. Rather, if you just go straight to intensity straight up, versus it starts off a bit sort of easygoing and then just ramps up as the event goes. I kind of like the idea of it ramping up, so it sort of builds to a crescendo moment rather than just intensity the whole time. You know, other people might disagree, but I can't. That's what I sort of thought works about it. Easygoing, fun event, friendly and positive, very welcoming. Event was perfect, excellent, fun. Perfect is generous. There's always ways to improve, isn't it? Fun, easy to understand, good action, social on the beach, laid back, healthy, social, fun, social racer, excellent conditions. We had great conditions this year. It was good. Good fun, not too serious. Great event. It was very fun. Some people took the event way too seriously. I actually like it that some people take the event seriously. You know, if everyone just thought it was a joke, it wouldn't be as fun, actually. That's the thing. You need those people to take it seriously, because that also creates the dramas, and also people pushing themselves, which I like. So please, if you want to take it seriously, you're very welcome to join in. It was a great event. Credit to Paul. Thank you so much. It was amazing. Most events aren't fun because they are boring. This event wasn't boring. Positive event. Some of the best action racing. Superb. The model that others could learn from. Cool. The most fun, awesome windsurf event ever. Very friendly and welcoming. A lot of positive comments. Very well organised. Great fun, great atmosphere. A real boon to windsurfing to Geraldton. Thanks, that's good. I'll have to send that one to the mayor. Very well organised. Every windsurfer should try it. Well worth the drive. Oh yeah. Thank you to everyone. You know, sometimes when you live in Geraldton, you forget that we're quite far away from everywhere. I mean, you do know, but until you have to drive down to Perth or fly to Sydney or wherever, you realise, oh, it's a bit of a hassle. So thank you to everyone that drove or flew or wherever you came from to come to Geraldton, because it is a big effort to get here. So I am conscious of that when I organise the event, to try to do my best so it's worth your while. The wave rally was so much fun for all competitors, no matter what your level. Everyone had the time, lots of time in the water. Yeah. Okay, future. There's a strong interest in future. Over 90% of respondents said they are interested in returning. Fantastic. 59% saying they are certain to attend. Cool. Okay, well, that's very positive. No, there's no one saying they were not coming back. 8% were 50-50. Best aspects. Competitors were highly complimentary. The general vibe. Highlights include inclusivity. Having music and headquarter add to the experience. Okay, please indicate up to 3 things that you really enjoyed. 10 minutes between heats was great. Yeah, and also the format. All participants, plenty of sailing, easy, organised. Snakes and ladders heat system. Okay, atmosphere, being surrounded by people in positive mood. Fun, 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 the vibe. Community. Dave Bondi, look at this. He gets a special mention. Getting involved with the WA windsurfing people. A lot of community aspects. Sorry, I'm just skipping through this, but if I read every comment, it'd be here for a while. But watch other people surf. Also, as an old and slow sailor, I did feel welcome, and the heat system is good, and that you end up with others of equal skill level. Yeah, that's great. So yeah, that's a real positive page. Obviously, that's the best aspects. Oh, okay. It continues on the water. Well, as you can see, lots of comments here. Beach starting intense. Jaeger in the competition. Location. The racing. Wow. Okay. Music, DJ, food, presentation. The music playlist where the comp was running was great. The parties. Racing on wave gear through waves. I thought the gear constraints are perfect. Yeah, no thanks. Yeah, the rules are an improvement over year 1, huh? I thought so. There's less problems. Improvement ideas. Okay, this is where I get more interested. A range of suggestions were provided to further enhance future wave rally events. These include further evaluation of rules and equipment settings, including consideration of one design, lone fleet, tweaking race formats and management, refining delivery. Okay. Please indicate up to 3 things that you believe could be improved. Okay, I will go through this with a little bit more detail. Event duration, 2-day event over 4 days. Yep, well that's actually what I'm planning to do for the next event, Wave Rally 3. It's going to be a 2-day, the 2 best days in a 4-day event window. Up until now, it's been a 3-day event window. I'm going to add, well, I need to get some quotes from the suppliers, assuming that it falls within the budget. I'm going to add an extra day, because obviously I have to rent all the gear, the marquees, the PA, the stage, for an extra day, so hopefully that works. 4-day event window, yep. A 5-day event window. So yeah, I think I'll start with the 4, see how that works, and go maybe longer later. But again, if I go 5, it will add even more cost, even though I'd like to do that. And it's also tricky for some people, huh? Like from Perth, they might be able to get to a 4-day window, but they can't at the 5. Yeah. I did a survey on the WhatsApp group, and overwhelmingly most people voted for a 4-day window, so I'll go with that. Bigger window, yep. Okay, so anyway, that's sorted. Rules. A slalom X-type jump gate in the lagoon. So I had a good chat with Ben Proffitt after the event, and one thing that I think I'm going to try to do is we're going to have a sausage. But the thing is, not everyone can chop hop a sausage, so it'll be a case of there'll be a sausage there, but you'll have a option to go around it, but you'll have to go upwind of it and around. You know, so there's a slight penalty by not jumping it. just stuff like that. I think that'll be a cool little element, on the way in. Athletes must be informed of their weight division at the start. They don't really have to be informed, although it's a want, just because, like I said, you don't actually really need to know until you get to the last day. However, it is noted, and I'll do my best to get this information across somehow. Ban dinos or give them their own category. Yeah. You know what? The thing was, the dino didn't win, right? So obviously Jesper got to the beach first on his Simmer Omnia board, and then Anton came second. So the thing was, with the dino, last year it was an advantage because I didn't have a fin restriction and people were putting big fins on, like, non-wave style fins, I'll say that much, big on a power box style board, having double foot straps on the rear and outward front foot straps. Because on the dyno you can have, there's two different sets of, you can either have the inboard foot strap with a single or more slalom setup. So the rule this year was it had to be max 3 foot straps. And when you put the foot straps on the inboard, all of a sudden that dyno becomes a bit more of a handfuler, because you can have a wider tail, but if you've got a single foot strap in the back, you have to control that power. So all of a sudden, this dyno wasn't really, I didn't feel so much of a issue. Yes, if you had one, it was fast, but that wasn't the only board that was fast, huh? There was other ones, so yeah. But again, if I end up doing this rocker idea, it may sort this out as well. I'm not sure, I'll have to look into it. Lower the entry fee. Well, that's fine, but as I mentioned before, I'll have to make up with it somewhere. I'm either taking a pay cut, which I'm not really willing to do because it's too much time, or I need to get more sponsorship, which I always do. But I think if the entry fee is contributing 20 to 25% of the overall cost, I think that's fair. It's just, you got to look at it as a contribution to windsurfing to make things happen. That's how I see it. But and it's good value. Like I said, you get all that merch. Like, just give you an example, the t-shirt costs $35 to make, $40. The hat cost $15. The food was $36. There's stickers, there's key rings, there's posters. I mean, if you just add up those elements, it's probably over $100, and that's before you've even run any event, just in that. So anyway, again, I know I sound like a broken record, but I just want to make sure everyone understands the costs involved. Maybe a junior division. Yep, no, I did. We talked about that, and I'll definitely keep that for consideration. Open it up for top female riders to participate. Actually, this is a cool idea. Maybe there's a thing where if the woman who wins the female final, if they haven't automatically entered the mega final, they get to go in it. So if you've got 10 people in the mega final, and whoever's won the female, they become the 11th rider in the final. That's cool. That'd be nice. I'll give that some consideration. Production sales only, no protos. Yeah, look, I don't think this is an issue, honestly. The only time it's an issue is if someone makes a proto sale that's clearly not a wave sale. It's like a speed sale or something, which will be pretty obvious. But I can tell you now, a proto sale is not going to necessarily be any faster than your production sale, especially if you just rig it with some tweaks on it. In fact, I'd go as far as say that most people, like for example Anton on his proto sale, that is a down the line wave sale. He would have actually been better getting a production sale and probably gone faster on it than the sale he was on. But that's the sale he uses for his wave sailing, So be careful what you wish for on that one. However, having said that, I think, to be fair, there is something to be said at keeping an eye on those sales and making sure it doesn't stray too far away from the original intention of the rules, and that was to be a wave-inspired sale. It doesn't turn into a full-on slalom sale. So, yeah, anyway, tricky one. Also, adding rules is fine, but obviously the more rules you add, in my experience, the more sort of alienation you get from the crowd. if I have 1,000 rules that just ticks every single box, you'll end up with 2 people. They'll end up at the event and say, good, I ticked every single box. You know, if I said no proto sales, Anton will be like, well, that's all I got. My dad makes my sales. And they'll be like, okay, well, you got to find a whole new set of sales. And all of a sudden, he's annoyed. And he's like, I don't want to get into this event. It's too hard. You know, so these are sort of things I have to think about as well. I've got to somehow keep it inclusive and not alienate too many people. Registration of each athlete's boards. Yeah, adds a lot of time. I have to tell everyone at registration, you got to bring your board, then I have to register it. And I guess the main purpose is what? Just so I know they're not on a slalom board, I guess. I think everyone knows the rules, and if they blatantly do something outside of that, well, it's not a good look for them. There's no glory on winning on something that's not within the rules. Having said all that, again, I'll go back to this idea with this rocker template thing. You know, that could be a solution. Second chance to top finishers who fall in the last heat. Yeah, that is actually, I've done that now. Without getting to too much detail, actually, I made a video. If you look the previous video on this Wave Rally YouTube channel, I've actually made a video explaining this new format where if you're in the top heat and you lose, or you're in the bottom part of that heat, you get a second chance. And the people in heat 2 in that last round also get a chance again in the mega final. So anyway, that's an improvement. Shorten running leg on finals. Yeah, well, that's as we discussed before. We can look into that. Maybe slightly shorter. I don't want to make it too short. Slightly wider start line. Yeah, maybe, but again, if you make it, like, the thing is, when you make it wider, I mean, obviously, you could go as wide as you want, right? I could make a 500 meter wide start line. Okay, that's an exaggeration, but you know what I mean? I could make it really wide, but then the person at the downwind side needs to have a clear advantage over someone on the upwind side, and then you have to make the angle really large on the rope, which you run out of room on the beach. Look, if someone wants to write in the comments below who went in the event, but I didn't really have anyone complain to me that the start line was too narrow. But yeah, also, you've got to work within the beach size, because if you go I can't actually go further upwind because there's actually a reef there. So the start line is happening on the edge of a reef line, and if you go further downwind, the wind actually gets less. Right, like as soon as you walk down the beach further, the wind just gets gustier and less. So where we start is the exact right position to be in. Anyway, that's my view on that. Would it be possible to have set boards for the race? The gear makes a massive difference, especially the boards. Standardizing is a challenge. Could the event get, let's say, 15 Severn Pyros in different sizes on loan from Severn and everybody run on those? All right, well, few things. We have people ranging from petite women or 50 kilo 13-year-olds to 115 kilo men with hugely varying volume board shape requirements. Then you've got heats of up to 10 people, right? So you'll have in a heat a 50 kilo 13-year-old, 115 litre guy who will need completely different boards. Then the wind could go from 20 knots to 35 knots, so everybody needs a different board then. You would probably need, I don't know, 30, 40 boards to cater. And the other thing too is when someone goes through the finish line, then they'd have to quickly find the board. Who's got the 80 litre board? Run around, disconnect their board from a sail. Like, I hear what you're saying. In a perfect world, there'd be a rack with 100 boards on it, and you could just pick anything you want. But I actually have thought about this. It is extremely difficult to do that. The other thing is, like to give you an example, 15 wouldn't be enough because you'd need boards from 60 litres to 120 litres. Then you need multiple of them on each size because, you've got a heavyweight funnel. They all want the 100 litre board, right? So you need at least 10 of them. Then you need at least 10 of the 80 litres. Then you need to, anyway, I hope you see what I'm coming from. And the other issue is, asking Severn to say bring up 30, 40 boards, it's not going to happen. But it's too expensive. And then, they're going to bring up a new board and all of a sudden they're second hand. They get damaged. Yeah, I know, it would be cool. Look, I agree with you. It would actually be cool, but it's logistically not happening in the short term. So it's a lot easier for people to just bring their own gear. Race management. Check the bias on the start line to ensure a fair start. This was reasonable on most occasions. Yeah, I thought so. I ask people constantly, is the start line all right? And the thing is, because you're drawing a number out of a hat, sometimes you won, sometimes you lost. Well, you know what I mean? Not won or lost, but you know what I mean? Like sometimes that's just the element. Sometimes it wasn't, it was the luck of the draw sometimes. Collective beach cleaning before races. Well, we got everyone to pick up seaweed, so that was good. Communication about start times. Oh, so about this beach cleaning, there's actually no rubbish on the beach. That's the beauty of, this area. I thought about doing a beach clean, but I walked around. There's no rubbish to pick up. So the only thing I could pick up is seaweed. So we could do seaweed cleaning. Communication about start times for each day. I thought it was pretty clear. It's on all the documentation. It's a WhatsApp group to join. And there's a skippers meeting in the morning, which obviously explains everything. I'm not sure how to make that more, but communication about the existence of a WhatsApp group. I didn't know there was one. Yeah, well, as explained before, it's in all the documentation. It's on the email that you get. Hard to maintain, but maybe someone on the mic announcing the start of the new round. Yeah, so as you know, if you went to the event, there's a big banner that has all the times, so obviously people can see their heat number, but that would be cool. Having someone on the mic in general, just commentating a bit more and having a bit more interaction would be good. You have to understand as well is that the event runs largely on volunteers. I say largely, it's all volunteers, right? So there's only so much I can ask. A lot of these things end up starting to become paid roles. So I'd have to think about all that and how to do it all. More randomness, unpredictability with the start so that people can't preempt it. Yeah, so this is related to the start. So Rose, who did a fantastic job, what will be different in the future was that the heats, they start every 10 minutes on the timer, 12 o'clock, 10 past 12, 20 past 12. And she would look at her watch, and as soon as it hit that mark, 1 o'clock on the dot, she would start. But next time I'll tell Rose, look, don't worry too much about that. Look at your watch. When it gets to 1 o'clock, don't worry about it being right on the dot. It's 1 o'clock, right? Then you look up and you decide when you start it, because then no one's looking at their watch and looking exactly at the second. And the other thing is, well, look at the water. If you see a gust coming, just wait for that gust and then start it. Well, something like that. So, start flag, can't hear horn. Yeah, okay, some people have hearing issues or, so that's fair. Yeah, maybe you have to get some sort of flag. Start procedure, horn reliability, match start time with gusts. Okay, that's just as I said. Tighten up the times to 10 minutes between the finals. So here we go. So we had people before complaining that the time between the finals was too short, and now we have here saying tighten up. This is not going to happen, and I'll tell you why. Because I need time to get organised. I need to get 2 drones in the air between each final. I need the commentator going up the line, sorry, not the commentator, the host, in this case was David Bond, interviewing everyone for the video. I need time to get this all happening. 10 minutes is not going to cut it, because 10 minutes, if race starts, the race takes 6 minutes, and there'll be 4 minutes before the next one starts. No, I can't, sorry. It's just not possible. The outer mark was too far downwind, which made the inner mark too far upwind. Yeah, you said, okay, this was the point I was making. So I found the outer mark was quite broad. So in this case, it meant larger race fin types won. Well, there shouldn't have been anyone with race fins because they should have been on wave fins. And there was a rule on the size of the fin. Admittedly, you could push the boundary in the get the bigger fin, but there shouldn't have been anyone on a race type fin. And if there was, I apologise, but that certainly wasn't in the rules. This mark, I agree. So again, this will be shifted in the future. Well, yeah, the problem was the wind was shifting. It was a weird forecast that day. We had a strong easterly flow that made the wind go very southeast. So it was quite a weird direction in the end, and it just shifted around a lot. Okay, commentary. Hard to maintain, but maybe someone on the mic announcing the start of a new round. Yep, so this is, as we said, microphone range. Okay, yep, so you couldn't always hear everything, even though there's, yeah, fair enough. More commentating on the heats. Yeah, one issue with this is it is a little bit hard to commentate down the beach because when they take off, you can't see, right? So you can see the start, but then they go out the back and all of a sudden you've lost it. The only way that they can properly commentate is have someone videoing the heats and watching it. But there's 40 heats on day one and 40 heats on day two or whatever, and we're not filming every heat. It's too much. And someone's not sitting behind. Yeah, so having said that, I do think that there is room for someone there just, hyping up the crowd a bit more and just keeping them informed of what's going on. That'd be cool. Move the big screen around so we can see the distant action from the beach. All right, that is pretty cool idea. Only thing is, when there's only action when someone's filming it, right? So I'm not filming all the heats. So really we're just talking about the finals. So we could move the big screen around for that. And then we could hook up that's definitely something in that. Yes, I'll definitely think about that. So yeah, but yeah, it would just be the finals, basically. PA system needs to be louder. Yep, okay. Sound system, not the music, could have been a bit better and more energetic. Would have been nice to have Prezzo's interviews of the finalists prior to the racing. Yeah, so this is the thing, okay? So again, we want not to have too much of a, like say 20 minutes, 30 minutes between heats. To actually get everyone, so say, the final happens, you want everyone on the stage to give a finalist prior to racing boxing style. There's 10 people. It would take you, even if they spoke for 20 seconds times 10, what's that, 5, 6, 7 minutes. And that's, if you're not going to get through 10 people in 5 minutes, but, there's 5 minutes gone, just in that, so I hear you. I definitely think there's ways to improve all this, but it comes down to time. I need time to be able to get all this done. Actually, so you know what? So I just thought of something. This was done, actually. This was actually done, but Bondi was on the mic that was used for the video. And if he'd actually had both of the mics to his mouth, we would have heard that on the actual loudspeaker. So we should do that. That's what we do. Yeah, okay. The screen near the club area, what was it for? How could you run the drone for it to make it easier? Yeah, what it's there for is mainly, is to actually showcase the sponsors, Rather than have 20 different banners made up, I can have the big screen and cycle through. Oops. That's Pete Ross from OES calling. Is that to show all the sponsors, so it's cycling through it all day. And I'm not flying the drone all day either, so that's basically what it's mainly there for. And it's also there for entertainment at night time. You can have some videos or whatever. But anyway, it's something that I can definitely look into, is to use it more with the drone. Okay. Oh, perhaps with some commentary from the jet ski. Wow, okay. So we need a commentator on the jet ski and the outside mark. Yeah, okay. I think logistically it's pushing it too much. Look, one day it might get like that. When Wave Rally is live streamed on TV, we can do all this, but right now I do have some constraints with money and technology to make it all happen. Okay, so this is improvement ideas. The The social entertainment, beer at the party, not sure how difficult a license will be to get. Yeah, I touched on all this before. Build the size of the social gatherings in the event hub. Token daily prizes. Food van closer. The food van has to basically go there. That's where it's designated within the Shire that food vans have got to go. I mean, it's a 2-minute walk, 1 or 2 minute walk to get there. Yeah. Bar with non-alcoholic drinks for sale. Slushy mocktails, coffee. Yeah. It's true. Like maybe having a drinks truck of some kind might be the solution to all these comments. Food truck was not as good as the old one. Well, it should have been because it was actually the same food truck as the old one. Oh, hold on. Last year there was 2. There was a food truck that was permanently there. If you're talking about that one, they've gone. But this new food truck, honestly, I cannot really fault him. He makes excellent quality homemade food. There's no one better around here. But yeah, again, food is subjective, is it? Fridge access. The fridge was right there in the admin side. I'm not sure how I could make the fridge access any easier. It was right there. More food trucks. I'd love to have 10 food trucks of every cuisine in the world. The issue I have here is that when you have a food truck down there, they need to prepare all the food. So for example, all this food was made, like he basically stays up all night preparing all this food, and therefore I need to somehow give him a guarantee that this food's going to be sold. So there's just not enough people all up, including volunteers, entrants, and people that come down to the beach to have multiple food trucks, and they all will leave happy. So if the event grows, not so much in entrance, but in people just coming down, then there may be a need. But right now, that food truck was barely enough. Look, there was barely enough foot traffic just for the one. You know, that's reality. You know, these guys are used to going to festivals where they have a line 20 deep going into them, and when you go to the food truck there's, you know, most of the time you go, there's not one person waiting, right? So yeah, I'd love to have more food trucks, but that hopefully explains the situation. Need to keep all around after races, social structure. Yep, no, we talked about that before. No DJ, please. Yeah, so I'll look into this. I mean, this, the social part of it, it's, party. Sam D in charge of the party. Okay, Sammy Dillon. Yeah, so that's like I said, I'll find someone that can, who wants to take that on. Stretching activities after races. You know what I was thinking would be nice? To set up a tent and have someone that does massages. And even if it's like a discounted rate, you know, like you could just swipe your card and you get a 15, 20-minute massage. Is anyone else up for that idea? I'd love a massage while I'm there. Shades on the beach were excellent. Please keep that. Oh, definitely. Shades, that's a no-brainer. Shade near the club area with some food, drinks. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I have to look into all that. It's, again, as I've mentioned before, there's some issues with all this. Beer, better prizes, more time wanting to get a burger. Size, a small t-shirt would be nice. Bigger crowds. Yeah, okay, no, good. Final comments and ideas. Congratulations to everyone who helped with the event. It was brilliant. Okay, final ideas, suggestions. Any ideas? Arrange the event in such a way that PVB can participate. Oh, yeah. I also would like the incentive for early entrants to be higher. Yeah, that's good. This helps to firm up numbers early. Consider franchises or allowing this to be developed into a wider series. Yeah, look, right now I have my hands full with this. I don't even want to think about franchising or anything else. I've still got so much to do with this. Who knows one day, but right now I want to make this as good as I possibly can each year with the resources I have, and then worry about all that later. I actually have, look, funny enough, I've had 4 separate parties reach out to me in the last month from various countries around the world wanting to do their own style, but I don't have the energy or the time that I want to put into this right now. I've basically said to them, look, fantastic, you want to do your own wave rally style event, just start organizing it. Just organize your own, and if you find that you're getting some success, then we'll talk again. But I don't particularly want to be associated with an event if it ends up being a nightmare and all of a sudden I'm associated with it and it sort of reflects badly on the Wave Rally name right now, because I just don't have the energy for it. So I think, and also, a lot of people think, oh yeah, I'll organize an event, and then they start doing it, and when they realize the reality of what it actually is, they go, oh yeah, no, I'm not doing that again. And so I think best thing is start your own event, see if you get some traction, and then we'll talk. I reckon that for me, that's the way I'm approaching it. Look forward to racing in 2027. Great, can't wait for the next one. Maybe if it all wrapped up early-ish, hold a team relay race. Yeah, look, again, add it to the list. So many things. I'm already running out of time each day, but yeah, I think this. I'll try to see if we can somehow squeeze more things in. Bigger event window, 3-day event spread over a 5-day. Yeah, well, as I said, we're actually going to do 2 competition days and a 4-day for now. So that's what's going to happen, unless something changes. Another mid-year wave rally somewhere in the world, left wanting another. I'm pretty sure Logan has written that comment because he said that to me. Yeah, so who wants to put their hand up and organise a mid-year wave rally somewhere in the world? Yeah, keep up the good work. Great event. See you next year. Thanks again. Well done. Thanks, Paul. Try to arrange an experienced MC. Well, I actually did. I tried to organise Rob Goyen, but he had a job with Cycling Australia at a national event. But to be honest, Bondi was awesome. He was awesome. I thought he was great. Yep, crowd fired up. Noted, resulting in even better footage. Yeah, the combination in the same week with the youth camp helped in making the trip worthwhile. The combination could also be advertised stronger as a festival of windsurfing, try to draw more crowds, helping the food truck because it didn't seem very busy. Yeah, so this is the point, yeah. And look, we tried to kind of do that, but it was a bit tricky this year, like I said, because there was an overlap and there was things going on. But, yeah, I hear what you're saying. I do understand what you're saying. But, anyway. More Dave Bondi. Yes, better EQ setting for the sound system. Okay. You deserve a medal, outstanding. Thank you. There's Anton going through the finish line. That was a great moment. I love that. Okay, here's the sponsors. Thank you so much to all the sponsors. Again, without these guys, the event doesn't happen. Go through each one of these. You can pause the video, but they're all to be commended. All to be commended. There's one of the sponsors, Bendigo Bank. I presented a poster to them, which is hanging in their office. These guys are fantastic. They really were happy with the way things went. Midwest Ports, they were the major sponsor. Thank you so much to Midwest Ports. Geraldton Party Hire. These are basically just some quotes from people saying how happy they were with the whole thing. Chapman Valley, thank you Chapman Valley. They're the shire that Coronation Beach is actually in and gives me the permit to run. They also chip in some money to make it happen. So that's, hold on, one more page, is it? Oh no, that's it. That is it. So thanks. If you made it this far, you're a legend. And so hopefully you can also see some of the challenges or, what is some of the things that I deal with running an event like this. But thank you so everybody who wrote this survey or, put the time into it. As I said, I will literally, as the year goes on, I go through and I find every comment that is relevant and can be used to improve the event and, hopefully makes the event better and bigger. And like I said, though, the event, it'll be restricted to a number. It's going to be either 80 or 88 people. So if you're interested in going into Wave Rally 3, which at this stage is probably going to happen from the 7th to the 10th, 7th to the 10th of January 2027, make sure that when the entries open, and the entries will open around mid-September. I can't actually do it any earlier than that. It's just the way it works with the WWA system, that you get your entry in early, because once it sells out, that's it. It's sold out. And I've got a good feeling it may sell out, this next one, because I had a lot of interest. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching the video and I hope to see you at the next Wave Rally World Championships.